I'm going to invite Alexander Yakubchuk to come and talk to us about his exploration company, Orsu Metals.
Hello, I'm going to talk about two exploration companies which are public companies. And in fact, we actually started a platinum palladium project. Both companies are in Russia, and we started a new platinum palladium project in Russia, for which we are doing fundraising as we speak. But it is in private hands. If you want to discuss it, we can discuss it after this. But for now, I will start from Azarga Metals, which is a copper-silver project in Transbaikalia in Russia. It looks like far away, but in fact, you can reach it within 24 hours from London. So next slide, please. We are listed on TSXV. Usual disclaimer. And basically, we own project 100%. And we published an updated inferred resource, which is for 500,000 tons of copper equivalent at roughly 1% copper, of which about 58% is copper and 42% is silver. And we did PA with the help of SRK and Wardell Armstrong, and basically it has an oxide portion in it, it has sulfide portion, which I'm going to touch. And you can see the NPV numbers, basically they offer, if you do oxide only, it offers high return, and for sulfide as well. So it's a substantial project not far from Udekan. Next slide, please. This is what we did during 5 years. I am with the project for 2 years now, but I was not from the very beginning. So it's a public company, everybody can buy shares in it. Next slide, please. And this is a list of our board members and shareholders. I'm not going to stop for too long on it. Next, please. And we are in Transbaikalia. We are in the north of Transbaikalia. I did a presentation about 2 years ago about it. So we are near Udekan, which is under construction now with $2.8 billion development. The mine is going to start production early 2023. It will produce about 120,000 tons of copper from year 23, which is roughly 12% of current Russian copper production. Next, please. And this quite complicated geological map. I'm not going into details of what it means, but look at red star. This is where we are. This is Unkur, and we are 25 kilometers north from Udekan. Next, please. This is how it looks from Google satellite image. You can see Baikal-Amur Railway. It's actually passing just 8 kilometers from the project, from the actual ore body. And you will be surprised, but on site, despite it is Siberia far away, we use mobile phones for communication, so we don't need any sophisticated things for it. Obviously, the project was explored in Soviet times. Almost everything was tested in Soviet times, but it was not touched since the mid-1970s, and we started our work back in 2016. Next, please. This is actually Baikal-Amur Railway, and our terrain is flat, as opposite to Udekan, which is in a rugged terrain at about 2,000 meters elevation. This one is 1,000 meters elevation. This is how Baikal-Amur Railway looked like several years ago. Now they're building the second line in parallel. Next, please. And this is a geological image showing same scale Udekan and us. You can see that the footprint, geological footprint, is roughly the same. It's 10 kilometers long by about 5 kilometers wide structure. The difference with Udekan is that their mineralized package is about 100 meters thick. In our case, it's about 13, 14 meters thick with the widest intercept zone of about 80 meters. Next, please. And this is a geological model. I'm not going to touch too much on it. If somebody is interested in geology, I will say, but there is a geological control. We know how it sits exactly and precisely. And basically, when we do our drilling, we control very well where we are in terms of reaching the thing. Most of the terrain is covered by moraine, whose glacial moraine, which is from 0 to about 100 meters thick. Where it is 0 meters thick, it's open pitable, and basically we can do an open pit. We are planning open pit and underground after 4 years. Next, please. This geological model actually shows the copper distribution, hot as a color, high as a grade, and on top and silver at the bottom. So you can see the open pitable portion. So this image was prepared by Azarga. I think it's a very nice image. The individual silver grade sometimes goes up to 400 grams, and average it is 40 grams. And it's about 50 million tons of material, roughly at 1% copper equivalent, using the prices which you see on the screen. Next, please. We completed a PA which was published in August, just 3 months ago, and we used long-term prices, something like average during the last 5 years, and we used current prices, more or less like current prices. Basically, the project offers a higher return, and oxide as well as sulfides, they have copper and silver. For oxide portion, we are going to use SAR technology. SAR technology is a relatively new technology which is available for about 10 years. You use cyanides to basically solve both copper and silver. Of course, it's high cyanide consumption, but technology basically recycles cyanide, and cyanide returns back into the process. So you can recover, you essentially produce a chemical concentrate. It's about 65% of copper in the concentrate, which is very high, and more than 6,000 grams of silver in it. And we already had discussion with the smelters in Kazakhstan, so they're happy to accept it. From sulfide, basically, there will be quite traditional concentrate with about 25% copper and 1,600 grams silver. Next, please. And these are essentially the results of our PA. On the right-hand side, you see what happens if you do oxide only and open pit only. On the left-hand side, you can see different options, three options, whether you do SXEW, whether you do cyanidation as we propose. And what you see in the red triangle, that's probably the cheapest option in terms of economics. It requires about $150 million initial investment, and if you do oxide only, it basically pays back within 2 years. If you do oxide and then we move into sulfide and some oxide underground, so it returns the money after 4 years. Next, please. And essentially, you can see all the numbers. You can pick up the brochures outside this room for exact numbers, and I'm not going to stop for too long on it. But you can see that the return, depending where you go, it's 26 to 46% internal rate of return after tax. Next, please. Is there any upside in the project? Yes, there is an upside. We drilled only the western part of the synclinal structure. The eastern part, there was always suspicion that there is copper there, which nobody was able to find it until 2020. And exactly a year ago, our field team discovered the outcrops with copper. So essentially, this was never drilled or trenched, and we believe that at least 50% can be added to the existing resource. And the resource itself is opened in all directions, down deep, along strike, etc. So the project definitely has an upside. Next, please. This is where we are. Interestingly, that all the smelters would be equally distant from the project, whether they are in China, in Russia, or in Kazakhstan. And Udekan, with its development, it already upgraded all infrastructure in terms of electricity supply, in terms of road supplies, etc. So basically, we are in good position. That's about it about this project. Next slide just shows that we have an option to do a VMS project in Canada called MARC. I'm not going to stop for too long on it, but this is the second project potentially which may come into the company. May I ask you to start the second presentation? The second presentation is Orsu Metals. Orsu Metals is for a while, and I'm doing presentation on behalf of the company. We were in Kazakhstan and Kyrgyzstan before, but in 2017, we sold our projects in Kazakhstan and Kyrgyzstan, and we moved into this. This is called Sergeevskoe. It is near the Yakubchuk deposit. In fact, you can see the open pit of the Yakubchuk deposit, which was started by, believe or not, London-listed companies back in 1901 called Nerchins Gold Mining Limited. This is how I saw the project back in 2016 on the left-hand side on top during my first visit. And this is how it looked in 2019. This is how it looks now. You can see the footprint of our activity in terms of trenches and drilling. And in 2020, we did some pilot mining, extracting small amount of gold, about 150 kilograms of gold, through which we finance our activities, mostly because, as you know, the markets, international markets are difficult with the projects in Russia. Next slide, please. Next. I'm not going to talk about the board. You can pick up a brochure. And next, please. Again, we are on TSXV. Next, please. So this is Transbaikalia. We are not far from triple junction between China, Mongolia, and Russia. In fact, we are 100 kilometers straight line from the Chinese border. And next slide, please. I already mentioned that it was started in 1901. Then nothing happened between 1910 and 1930. Since 1930 until 2002, it was producing deposit. It extracted approximately 1.6 million ounces of gold. Since 2002, when the gold price collapsed, there was no activity. The Indian company called Sun Mining Group was involved, and they sold ultimately 70% of their stake to China National Gold Corporation, which owns Yakubchuk, and we are just 300 meters west. Basically, we are going to publish a PEA soon, maybe end of this year, maybe next year, depending on how our consultants work. And next, please. This is our neighborhood, our license. There is an operating mine to the west, 10 kilometers straight line, and there is not operating mine to the east, which is Yakubchuk. In fact, all the ground around our license is licensed by different companies. All our focus until this year was within this red ellipse. Next, please. And this is how our resource evolved. So we started from top left, then what we know now is bottom right. So it took us about 4 years to do it. And red areas show where we did our pilot mining. Next, please. This is Google image, how it looks. Basically, we can go to the next slide. And if to put two mines together, Yakubchuk and us, essentially it's a continuation of Yakubchuk bodies, which we discovered, which was not recognized since 1965, when there was last activity on the site, and we have more to come from this. Next, please. And in fact, if to put together what we discovered, what was extracted, what sits in the low-grade dumps, what sits under the pit, it's 12.5 million ounces, which is the 10th largest gold deposit in Russia. We published this geophysical image of magnetic response of the rocks. All the ground is covered by taiga forest. Basically, you cannot have direct observation. Then you have about 2 meters of rubble material through which you have to reach. So we thought this is how our continuation of the existing resource may continue. And we covered everything outside the disturbed area by geochemical survey. Next, please. And this geochemical survey showed us a surprise. Top left is a gold image. So basically, we see that from the existing resource at the bottom right, it continues for at least 2 kilometers, which is potential. There is a chance to double the strike length of the resource. We have found that there is a strong response in copper and molybdenum. And in fact, in the middle, we obviously call this surprise. We were not prepared for this, but we discovered that there is a big anomaly, 1,000 meters by 650 meters of copper, gold, molybdenum response, which we are going to drill test as quickly as possible as soon as we find a contractor, maybe before this year. before the new year, maybe after the new year, but it will be tested soon. If it becomes the case, basically not focusing on stockwork anymore, we may focus on these bulk mineable targets, which will be a new discovery essentially within a very mature camp. Next, please. And at this, I want to finish. Essentially, this is what we are doing. Of course, the times are difficult. We were able to operate despite COVID. There are some restrictions, but we are progressing. Thank you very much.